This is Andy Perrault for Boxing Social, and as always, I'm very happy to be joined by Dave Caldwell. Dave, how are you?
I'm very good, mate, thank you. Yeah, really good.
It's always a pleasure to hear that. Obviously, down here today for Jordan Gill's return after his victory over Dominguez last time out. Talked about Tinoco and why you guys decided to put him in with such a tough test on the back of what's been a very good few months for him.
That's the reason, what you just mentioned there, because I knew it's going to be a tough test. It's no good Jordan developing in the gym, doing everything he's doing and looking $1 million to then go and fight opponents that aren't going to give him any problems, aren't going to give him questions to answer. For his development, it's vital that he has those moments that are a little bit sticky or things aren't going quite as what we would want. Because when he fights at world level and top level, you're going to lose rounds. You're going to get hit with shots that you felt. You're going to get roughed up. You're going to have moments in there where a few doubts start creeping in. But you have to deal with them in order to come through them. So I would rather that sort of stuff happen early doors so he can experience it and then step on. Because experience is vital in boxing. It's vital. When you have a kid that's very, very talented, and he's supremely talented, and when you have a kid like that, you need to be able to train the mind as much as you train the body and bring in the ability out. You need to make sure that the mind's conditioned to what they need to be doing at top level. You need to condition the mind towards the pitfalls and the dangers in opponents and fights, and develop that. And that's what Tinoco I believe is going to bring. I watched him with Haney. He had a week's notice with Haney. Haney's a big puncher at lightweight, one of the world's best prospects. Everybody's talking about him. Seen as a next superstar of boxing. And he gave him a good fight. He gave him a really good fight, and he never stopped coming. And he switches orthodox southpaw constantly. It's quite unpredictable in that sense. And he's got the toughness of a Mexican. Not just a Mexican. He's from Tijuana. They don't come no tougher than that. So we're in for a tough night. So Jordan's concentration and his discipline that he shows in sparring, he has to be able to show on fight night in this fight, and not just for 3-5 rounds. This is going to be a long fight. This is going to be a fight where he has to be patient. One of Jordan's things is that sometimes he feels like, should I do more? And it's like, when you're in title fights, 12-round fights, 10-round fights, sometimes, no, not yet. You have to judge. You have to understand when to go, when not to go. And these kind of fights are what's needed.
When you consider Jordan's time before he linked up with you, does he maybe make it a little bit more difficult to make sure you do judge the right matchups? Because you could look at his record and think 23-0, he should be fighting above this, but in reality he's only been with you for a few fights, so you can't really look at it like that.
Yeah, you've basically just said that bang on. He was 16-0 when he came to me. And it was 16 fights against absolutely nobody. No disrespect to them, but there was guys that he was fighting guys in his 15th, 16th fight that you would be fighting in your third, fourth fight. There was no progression there. And so you're not really learning anything there. Nobody's coming to win. Nobody's coming to put it on you. When we had a couple of fights, one against a tough Mexican, Puerto Rican or something. One was Jordan Ellison, who come up with a good win over, I think it was Sean Dodd not long ago. So he had 2 step up straight away with me. And then we went for Jason Cunningham, which I knew, 2-time Commonwealth challenger. Steffi Bull was dead up for it. They were fully confident that they were going to, take Jordan into deep waters and drown him. That was a tough opponent. That was his first real fight in front of the TV cameras and everything. So it was big pressure, everything. Then the Ryan Doyle fight. That was another step up, and you look how he dealt with that. And then headlining last time for the first time was again added pressure, and again somebody I expected to give him rounds, but he broke him up, destroyed him. It's another progression. It's another progressive step, and that's what I need. That's what I'm looking for.
To link back to Tinoco, what would be your, don't necessarily want to say prediction, but how do you see the fight playing out on Saturday night? Friday night, I should say.
I see it's a long fight. This is not. Listen, let's not get carried away. Jordan's stopping his opponents recently, but he isn't a one-punch knockout merchant, right? He's stopping them because of his boxing ability. And the most important thing for me is that he lets his boxing ability do the damage for him. Not try and go out there and try and, sometimes a lot of fighters, a lot of the young fighters, once they start getting a few stops on the record and people start saying, oh, actually, he does punch hard, sometimes they then start thinking, I want to stop him. He's saying there, oh, let's stand and fight like a Mexican. Why would you stand and fight like a Mexican when your assets are your slickness and your boxing brain and being a smart fighter? Do you know what I mean? You'll stand and fight when you want to stand and fight, not when he wants to stand and fight. And Jordan will stand and fight when he wants to fight and when it suits him, on his terms. And that's the key. It's a good fight, man. It's a good fight.
Also, just wanted to get your thoughts now. We've moved on from a few weeks ago. Derek Chisora's victory over Sener Gashi. What was your thoughts on the performance?
It's difficult to say because for you guys on the outside, you just look at it and say, oh, shit. But it was shit because the opponent just ran all night. That opponent would have been a nightmare stylistically for Derek 10 years ago. Derek now, with the miles on the clock, coming towards the end of his career, after all the hard fights, that's still a nightmare, even more so. I know it did. It came out southpaw, because he's expecting Derek to be throwing that winging overhand right, which you can see a mile off coming. He wanted to counter it with a southpaw left hand, which would have been but he never did that. And once Derek was disciplined and didn't give him that, then he just shut down and just went negative. Felt a couple of his weighty shots, just went negative and just looked to survive. That fight for me, that was just a complete waste of a training camp and a fight for Derek at this stage of his career. He's only got a handful, less than a handful of these fights left and these training camps left. So that's a waste, and I was pissed off because of that, and I still am. I was very frustrating because he's put the work in the gym and he's showed improvements in the gym and he's doing things in the gym that I'm really happy with, and he didn't get the opportunity, he didn't get a chance to do that in a fight night. We expected a 17 knockouts at a 17-win opponent who's talking like he did. We expected him to come out for a fight. We didn't get it.
Who are you guys considering now for his next bout?
I'll leave that to David Haye because that's his manager, and Eddie Hearn, who's his promoter, and I'll have some input into it when they give a few names out. But it's got to be worthwhile. It's got to be something that's going to progress his career, progressing forward.
And finally, you mentioned Devin Haney earlier on for fighting Tinoco. Yesterday we had the announcement that Luke Campbell will fight Vasyl Lomachenko for the vacant WBC world title. Caught a lot of people by surprise. Everyone assumed it would be Haney versus Campbell that would be called. What was your reaction to it when you saw the news?
Do you know what? Sometimes some fighters get a world title opportunity against fighters that aren't quite that good, and then other fighters just seem to get the world title opportunity against elite. Campbell's he's at the rough end of the stick because he's you look at the fight, you look at Linares, now you're looking at Lomachenko. That's elite level. Linares is elite. Lomachenko is like super elite if there's such a thing. It's a tough fight. But what I will say is that he's got a very good boxing brain himself, Luke Campbell. Very good boxing brain. He's got the range, he's got the height, length of arms, he's got good feet, he's got a very good boxing brain, he's got a very good coach in Shane McGuigan that I think them two have just gelled. They've just gelled together, and I think that now you are seeing the best of Luke Campbell, the most comfortable Luke Campbell we've seen as a professional, because of the link up that he's got there, and I think that they work really well together, and I can see improvements in it. So I think he's got the best chances ever going to have going into that fight with Lomachenko. The only problem that I feel is that for me, I don't see anybody beating Lomachenko until he steps up that weight division too far, and that's where he gets beat. Or because he just seems to be picking up a lot of injuries now. Of his recent fights, Loma, he seems to be getting these injuries, shoulders, arms, hands, whatever. So maybe he's actually suffering from wear and tear from his career, because he might not be the oldest, but he's had what was it, about 300 amateur fights or something like that. Do you know what I mean? That's a lot of wear and tear. Yeah, and that's what people have to understand, is wear and tear on your body. Sooner or later it catches up on you. It doesn't matter how good you are, sooner or later that's what catches up on you. I'm not saying that means that Campbell's going to win the fight. What I'm saying is that and the weight division of jumping too much, I think they're the two things where, for me, Lomachenko will eventually get beat. Do I think it's Luke Campbell that's going to beat him? No, I don't. But I think Campbell will give it a good go. I think it'll be a clever, interesting fight to start off with. But Lomachenko figures out a puzzle, and it might take him a few rounds to figure out the puzzle. But ultimately, I think Lomachenko wins. But it's one of those like Tony against Usyk, like a Crawler against Lomachenko. You've got an opportunity to fight the absolute best in the world. Why would you not take it? Why would you not test yourself? This is what these guys get into. This is why they're professional fighters, professional boxers, and why the rest of us sit, watch and admire, because they actually go out there and do it, and they'll put themselves online, and people can say, mismatch, all this sort of crap all they want. Yeah, it might be, but you know what? They're going to go out there and give it absolutely they've got and dare to be great. And if they pull it off, then it's like fucking wow, unbelievable. So fair play to him, and good luck to him, because every fighter should want to test himself at the pinnacle of the sport and just see how good they are. And if they're not quite good enough to be at that level, then they give it a go, and that's boxing.
Well, Dave Caldwell, I appreciate your time. I know you're going to want to shoot off now. So as always, thanks for speaking to Boxing Social.
Nice one, mate. Thanks for having me.